Okay. Yeah, thanks. And welcome today to my presentation to the idea or to the presentation about the 4D looping, the framework for entrepreneurial life design. Yeah, I'm also very excited to now finally also talk to you about my ideas and what I'm doing and what is the idea about the 4D looping and life looping. And I thought, how do I go further? Oops. I thought that I want to present you, of course, the framework and the looping. And I want to do it based on my URM paper that I handed in this year on the URM 23, what I will present also in June. So it's like already a first draft of my presentation for June. And I also want to show you some slides from workshops that I did and the impact measurement that we already did. But before I start, I think most of you know me, but some words about me. I'm Barbara Wolf, and I'm doing for living consulting and training and speaking. So I have my own consultancy named Panorama Wolf. And next to that, I'm also researching and lecturing. I just recently started at the LMU Entrepreneurship Center, but I did some, since already several years, I'm also lecturing at the Munich Business School. I have 18 years experience. It already sounds so much, so years are passing. 18 years experience in working in corporate environments, in different positions, consulting roles, and mostly in topics like communication, marketing, product management, innovation, education, and entrepreneurship. So I'm combining the two worlds of entrepreneurship and communication and branding. And this is also my topic or my focus. I'm working in communication and educational strategies in the context of transformation and innovation. So how to help communicate new ideas in innovation processes, how to help educate, convince people from new ideas, from finding new paths, from helping them transform. And my mission there is to empower the change makers, people who are in this transformation process, people who are trying to make a change to the world, to their life, and to empower the change makers to convince with their own ideas and to also create sustainable transformation. In the past, I got some awards and scholarships for entrepreneurial projects that I did, and also academic projects. And I also love to travel. So I tried during my studies, but also just recently, last year, I had a scholarship for a research travel to the Silicon Valley, and I spent a lot of time at the Stanford University. And researching and learning, lifelong learning is also my my personal topic. And from my educational background, basically, I have a business diploma in marketing communication from the University of Applied Sciences in Potsdam, same as Michael was also in the call. We know each other from our studies. And in 2010, I got my PhD from the Munich University from the Department of Media and Communication. So that's about me. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, I want to start with the idea of the 4D looping and with the URM call. And when I saw the URM call last year, actually, for this year, I read in the first lines, as researchers, educators, and thought leaders, business school academics cannot only play a huge role in helping to transform business for good, but they have the moral duty to do so. And yeah, this was not the first time that I read something like that. Yeah, like the whole world is shouting and looking and asking and wanting to have people, leaders, or change makers who help to transform for good. So this is the big need in the world. We need to transform. We need to make the world more sustainable, our life more sustainable, and we need people who help us with that, or who guide us the way, who have ideas, who have entrepreneurial projects. And what I think, and what we also see in a lot of what's the name, initiatives, there are a lot of well-educated, motivated, and good-hearted people who want to be this change maker and who want to do good things. And perhaps I should have made this slide more as a funnel, yeah, from top to down. And I think that there are already a lot of people having the potential to be a good change maker, and they want to do it. But then what happens when they go into this funnel, and it can be like the funnel of starting a new business and entrepreneurial projects, but it can also be the funnel of starting a job or going into life, yeah. And what happens, they get confronted with the VUCA world, yeah, and they get confronted with situations that are volatile, that are uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And you all know VUCA, I'm sure. And then something happens with their motivation, and something happens with their health, and something happens with their emotions. And I just go over this text. This is a text of my paper, but the idea of what happens there is that when people should change the world and come up with new ideas and take the risk of trying new things, then yeah, they have to take the risk. But with these experiences of the VUCA world, they are more looking for security. And we see that in studies, for example, that the first icon is a civil working officer. And there are studies right now that, especially now after Corona and after crisis, after the crisis of the last years, the belonging for security is growing so much, and people, the wish of students, what they want to do after studies is like growing a lot into the direction of, I want to be a civil servant, yeah, and I want to have, the only important thing for me is to have a secure job, yeah. And it's getting much less important for them to really try new things and take the risk to make new projects. It's more important to really look for something that gives them security. And also the other slide, they just see like the line going down. It's like the number of foundations of people who found new companies. It's also going down through the last years and through all this change and crisis and transformation and insecurity in the world. And the other line that's going up is the health, the reasons, or the number of people who are ill and who are not going to work because they're ill, and the number of mental health topics that are in this context. So the world produces fear, and this is a topic for mental health of the people. And instead of people getting creative, yeah, and getting new ideas and seeing where are challenges and how can we solve them creatively, they are trapped in their fear and trapped in their mental topics. So what is the challenge? So if we see it as a design thinking process, we have now the situation. So how can we define the challenge that we have to solve? And in the challenges that in the process of empowering people and of trying to create change makers and leaders who come up with new ideas, when they are going through this process, we are losing motivation, we are losing creativity, we are losing courage, we are losing energy, we are losing commitment, health on the way. And we need to empower change makers personally to sustainably activate their resources. So the idea, the solution, or the solution that we should look for is, how can we try to help them in this process of going through life, of going through an entrepreneurial endeavor? How can we help them to personally sustainably activate their resources in coping with the change that they go through, with all the VUCA incidents that come in their life and in their work? So coping with the change. And second, also spotting opportunities in new circumstances. So when change is happening, when there are new circumstances, that they have to find a solution, that they have to find a new product, a new idea. So how can they spot new opportunities? And then third, how can they proactively work on these ideas that they have and create meaningful change? So that's the challenge. And in this context, I love the picture of the tree with the roots, because and also this saying of Machona Glivayo, it is in the roots, not the branches, that a tree's greatest strength lies. So when change is coming and when the wind is coming through the branches, then the important thing for the wind is for the tree is that you have strong roots, and in this direction can be the solution. So what is the solution? So what can we look for to solve this challenge that we are seeing? And the challenge is to find an interdisciplinary, or the solution should go into the direction to find an interdisciplinary. That means not only teaching entrepreneurship, but also teaching personal development and perhaps other disciplines. So interdisciplinary and holistic. That means including the perspective of work, but also the perspective of life, but also the perspective of environment. So like really looking in have a holistic approach for a solution, and also a lifelong, because it's not only done if you teach people in preschool a certain mindset and a certain skill set, but when they are going through this process, as we see, then they have like their experiences, and they need like this constant empowerment or constant training or constant guidance to keep their way going and to keep on track. So yeah, it's this interdisciplinary, holistic, lifelong empowerment of mind and skill set. And I also brought you this graph on the left that shows that's an overview of terms and definitions currently used in entrepreneurial education. And there we see like these different stages in life. So from, I don't know if you can read it, from preschool up to like basic education, to higher education, but then also to work, life, and lifelong learning. So this is like the scale up. And so we also already have entrepreneurial education in all these life stages, and we have a different focus also. So on the left, we have more the focus of personal development, and then on the right, you have more the focus of business skills, and on the bottom, we have different formats of education. And yeah, what I want to show you with that is that the idea of what we should do is already there. Yeah, it's like we need like education through the whole lifespan. Yeah, and it should not stop with university, but we need like the lifelong guidance, and we need to have like the personal development and the person in focus, but also the business skills, and we need to work with formats, with different formats that help to train entrepreneurship effectively. And yeah, I will come to that later, how these formats also look like. So from having this situation, from seeing this challenge, and from asking ourselves, so what could be a solution? I asked a research question: how can such a holistic, interdisciplinary educational intervention look like? And I'm doing that in my paper, looking into 4 different theoretical areas. One area is like the area of lifelong learning. So what do we know about learning through different stages of life, and especially after our educational period in life, so when we are going to work, and what do we know about lifelong learning, that context? I'm looking into innovation processes. How can we create the future? How can we create new ideas? How can we create new projects, new solutions? I'm looking into entrepreneurship education. What do we know about entrepreneurship education? What formats do we use? What learning goals do we see there? And I'm also looking into positive psychology and identity construction, to have like the person in focus also. So first, when we go, sorry, too fast. When we look into the lifelong learning, then what we see is that it's not a topic of that the people don't have the information. I mean, the internet, everything is there. People can learn whatever they want. It's more a topic of motivation and taking the time and the energy to go into new areas. And what we also see in lifelong learning research and literature, that most lifelong learning happens in the corporate context. It's so if companies pay money and give the people space and time and perhaps necessity, then they go through seminars and workshops and they train themselves further. Yeah, it's not so much like on self-initiative at home. And it's also when we see that the knowledge is already out there, and we can go into the internet and we can go to YouTube and to other online universities, and we can learn whatever we want. The motivation is essential, and this is influenced by where and also by the experience. So what type of course is it? What is the experience? Who teaches it? And is it a personally relevant topic? So it's very important that it's a relevant topic for the people if they decide to learn new stuff. Yeah, and that we use innovative learning formats inside and outside of educational institutions. In the context of lifelong learning, what is also very very strong and very well known, I'm sure a lot of you already saw that or know about that, is that the European Commission a long time ago already, 2018, came up with key competences of lifelong learning. And what they see there is that, or what they say is that entrepreneurship and knowing things about entrepreneurship, having the skills and having the mindset of entrepreneurs is something that is very important for having Tina already said it in her introduction about it's a very essential life skill. Yeah. So the second area that I was looking into is the area of the innovation processes and the question of how can we create new solutions, how can we create new value, what is the process of, and what are the steps if we are in a transformation or if we have a challenge to find a solution. And when I look into innovation processes, it's a question of how to create the future, and a very popular answer to create meaningful solutions when we have wicked problems, like not only complex problems, but not only complicated problems, but complex problems, what life and our society problems mostly are, then the answer mostly comes to the agile, human-centered, collaborative method of design thinking. What could be then a good process to create meaningful solutions. This also encourages an agile mindset, and it encourages radical collaboration, so to work together with other people from different disciplines, and it encourages a divergent thinking to reframe and change perspective of the situation. And the principles that are related to design thinking are empathy, integrative thinking, optimism, experimentalism, collaboration, and it is mostly taught in immersive innovators journeys. So when people learn about design thinking, they mostly go through a design thinking journey, and they just learn it by doing it. And also in this context of innovation processes, and when we come to design thinking, what also pops up there, and quite recently much more and more popular, is the topic of life design. So when you use design thinking to find human-centered, meaningful solutions for professional and personal life paths. So to sum that up, the human-centered design approach is an holistic approach, yeah, but it takes the people and the needs of the people in the focus, and starts with that. And when you look at the people, I also see that the people needs and the people belong together to the planet, as this is the home base of the people. So this is putting that first. What is the need? What is something what we as humans desire? And then second, is it viable from business side? Is it also feasible from technology side? But starting with this personal human-centered need is something that is very important when looking in this area. And then also looking in the process. The human-centered process is different from other innovation processes or solution processes, as it starts as it has this double diamond, and it's not only starting with, okay, now we have a problem, what are solutions, what are ideas to the solution, but it starts one step before, and before finding things right, it's the idea of design the right things. Yeah, first find out what is really your challenge, where you need a solution for, and what is really the need that you have right now, and where are you, who are you, and where are you, and do you know everything about your situation first before you know what you really have to solve. So this is the big advantage of the human-centered design thinking approach, to really start with this first discovery stage. And looking into design thinking and looking into life design, what pops up, and I was last year in Stanford and at a life design lab, and I also did a course there, and next to a lot of literature, not so much academic literature, but literature in like books about design your life, and the book from Bill Burnett and from Dave Evans from the Stanford University. It seems to be like a big interest in these topics, and the Stanford Life Design Lab also talks about a movement of life design in the academy. And in having been there, and now, like, I've seen how many people were in this course, and now there's like this community around that, and listening to what is going on there a lot in the US, but perhaps also soon also in other parts of the world. But it really seems like to be a movement in academy. Like, they're starting up with new centers, and next to career centers, they have really life design centers, because the need of the students is there, and the academics also see like the big impact and the big importance that a program and an intervention like that can help students on a sustainable level for their life. So the third area that I was looking to get like this interdisciplinary theoretical background is the entrepreneurship education. And when I was looking into that, I saw there were literature that was talking about two different perspectives of entrepreneurship education. And before, it was more that the narrow perspective of becoming an entrepreneur. So when you offered entrepreneurship education, or if someone went to an entrepreneurship education course, it was more the idea of course, I want to become an entrepreneur, and I want to learn what it's about and how I can start with that. But it's now getting much more another perspective, and they talk about the broad perspective. It's more about how the entrepreneurship education is about developing an enterprising mentality or mindset. And in this broad perspective, it is more about the mind and skill set that help to discover and to evaluate and realize new opportunities that, of course, can help to come up with new ideas and products and new entrepreneurial projects and companies. But it doesn't have to. It can also help to discover and evaluate and really realize new opportunities in your everyday life and in changes in your job and in your team, and how to come up with sustainable solutions for that. So with the idea of this broad perspective to use entrepreneurship education as a life skill, they also talk about different teaching formats that are used. And there's teaching for entrepreneurship. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, there's teaching in entrepreneurship. So when you are an entrepreneur and you want to learn more about what can you do better, and there's a teaching about entrepreneurship, so just to get more information about what it's about. And there's also this teaching through entrepreneurship, where you use entrepreneurial processes and entrepreneurial tools, and you let your students go really through this entrepreneurial process, and meanwhile they learn what it's about, and they learn the skills and the tools, and they also develop the mindset of an entrepreneur in really going through this journey. And it's also in the entrepreneurship literature, it's known that this mindset of going through iterative circles, so in learning, build, measure, learn, like the lean startup, but like going through short and many learning circles is something what a successful entrepreneur makes the entrepreneur successful, that you try something out and then you see, does it work or not, and if it doesn't work, you adapt and you go through these learning circles. And this is also something very helpful for life in general. So I want to also take this idea for the framework. Okay, last theory discipline that I was looking to is the discipline. That are perhaps two disciplines that I connected there. It's about what happens to the people in this change and transformation processes. And so I was looking into psychology and into identity. And as this is very close together with communication, because identity is built based on stories, I put it all into one topic. And there I was looking into positive psychology, what is very much formed from Seligman with his PERMA framework. The idea behind this framework is that what is important for people to let them flourish is the main idea. So how can we focus on the individual strengths of the people that they already have inside themselves, and how can we give them interventions or have like intentional activities to cultivate these PERMA areas. These are positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning and accomplishments. Later they also added age there, and for health. And for these interventions, they are also already very much researched, and they show to have positive impact on activating potential in terms of well-being, resilience, self-confidence, and also on holistic decisions and creative thinking. And as we already see that in this PERMA is the M, the part of the meaning. This is very close related to the topic of identity and of purpose. So what is meaning for me, and to have like this identity, a strong identity, and to have your meaning and the purpose clear is also something that create engagement and commitment for the world around, and also for topics and for projects that you want to advance. And it's also it's also important when you then want to convince with your new ideas. Yeah, if you want to have you change your jobs and you want to convince your new employer about yourself, or if you have an entrepreneurial idea and you want to convince your customers, your clients, or your investors. So it's also very important, if the story that you tell is also meaningful to yourself and it's coherent to your own story, then it's much stronger to convince with it also other people. So these are the 4 areas that I was researching about, and looking what do we know about literature, what can we learn from these different areas about how to empower people for change, for coping with change, for spotting new opportunities, and then to also going into action and coming up with their ideas and projects. And now put it together in the space line, where I have these 3 areas of this human-centered design, what is more about the process. So what process should we offer in this intervention and in this educational approach? We should use a human-centered approach to create meaningful and sustainable solutions for the future. Then I have the area of the positive psychology and identity. So how can we include the people and activate the potential that is sustainably, to activate the potential sustainably, and how to write your own story further that gives meaning to you, and how that also helps you to convince others with your ideas. And the third area about the entrepreneurship education as a lifelong learning tool, as a skill that helps you through your whole life, and you should also train your whole life, and that helps you to give an entrepreneurial, inspirational setting and a guidance on the way through your whole life, and that makes your journey worthwhile. And in the center, I see the change maker, and the change maker empowerment that comes from these 3 different disciplines, and that helps people in the transformation process, cultivate their energy and their ideas and their creativity and their behavior. Okay, so now it comes. So what did I do with that? So what is the 4D looping framework? With all these inspirations from different disciplines, what is the intervention? What is the framework? What is a good process to go through to do all that that I was just talking about? So the framework is called 4D looping because it has 4 phases, 4 steps, and they all start with D. So it starts with the first step is discover, and the discovery phase is the phase where it's about the person and the resources of the person, and about the inner compass. So the idea is that in this phase we do a 360-degree self-reflection on different levels also. So it's not only thinking cognitively about who am I and what is important for me, but we also have different formats there to look more into also subconscious topics, or to get also feedback from outside. So so we have a lot of different methods to really get a good overview and a good picture and a holistic picture about who am I now in the situation that I am, and I'm now starting with this transformation process, or I'm already in, and this framework now should help me going through the steps. So who am I, and where am I now, and where do I want to go? That's the question in the first discovery phase. And when this is answered, then the question is, so now what is your challenge, and what do you want to solve now? And then you step into the second stage, that is the design stage, and the idea there is to first have clear that you really are looking at the correct question and at the correct challenge. But the first step helps in clarifying really what is the challenge. And then in the design stage, it's about really thinking creative and open-minded and also innovative and big and visionary, to really come up with also new ideas, and perhaps with ideas that you never would have thought before, or what you perhaps have thought, but you thought it's much too big, or it's much too crazy, or it's not for me. I would never achieve that, or nobody would let me do that. So to really encourage the people to think big, because you can always go small after, and this will anyway happen. But the idea is to first come up with what really what could be a dream, yeah, and what could be a big idea, a moonshot. And then of course evaluate, and then see how solutions could look like, and perhaps crazy ideas are not so crazy anymore if you just adapt a few things, and you come out of the second step of the design step with an idea how to solve your challenge that you are right now in. And in the third step, then you go into the stage of deliver. This is the experimental prototyping stage. So it's, yeah, in general, it's a lot of design thinking process there. So it's the reality check, where you try to put yourself as much as you can in an experimental way in the situation of how would it really feel if I now implement this idea that I just had. And that could be really building something, yeah. But in live design, it's mostly talking to other people and doing live design interviews, talking to people who are already doing things that you just thought that could be an idea to do. Or if you have a really new innovative business idea, then perhaps it's about coming up with the first pitch deck and trying to find out if this is really then still working, or if you can convince people with the idea, or convince yourself after you have done the pitch deck. So it's, yeah, you can be very creative in how to put yourself into the future, experimentally into the future, and feel if this is really a solution that you could live with, and you would believe that it can be implemented. And then in the fourth step, in the discuss step, it's about the image of the campfire, where you sit together with other people and you tell your story, and you tell what you just learned about yourself, and you learned and the idea you had, and what you tested, and what came out, and you talk about so what are now the next steps? What do I have to plan? Perhaps also people and a team that I need to involve, but also about perhaps fear or self-doubt of, can I really do that? So everything in the discuss step is the idea to really go into implementation, or if the result was a good idea, but in the experiment I just found out it's not for me, then perhaps I have to go back and to do again an ideation in the design phase, and then go again and deliver until I found an idea that I really want to implement. Yeah, but the discuss stage in general is about discussing everything that's still in the way of really doing the change, and really going into the transformation process so that it works. Yeah, so this is the basic idea behind the 4 steps, and what we were doing with this 4D looping. We implemented in workshops that we call live looping. And the idea is to grow in circles and to shape your futures. That's what we talk about, or how we sell it. And there we always show life as as this line that is just growing always in life experience and in wisdom, but it's not like growing constantly, but it's growing like with like waves, ups and downs. And there are times in life where you have like a negative slope because you're frustrated of something, or you are insecure if you're doing the right thing, or you're overwhelmed with what you have to do. And then there are times where you have a positive slope and that you're energetic, you're in flow, you're satisfied, motivated, creative. And the idea is, of course, to come from this negative slopes to a positive slope again. And there, this framework of the 4D looping can help, yeah, to take a challenge that could be, how can I find out if entrepreneurship is something for me, or how might I find out what to prioritize in building a great team and culture, or whatever is the question or the challenge that you have right now. And then you go through this process, and you first go through discover, where we visit different islands, and what I said about this 360-degree discovery of different areas of your own philosophy. We are looking into emotions, we are looking into personality, into competences, into like in which culture can you flourish, what are like the conditions that are important for you, what are your values, and also what is your purpose. And from all these different tasks and reflections that we are doing, we then have an overview, and this is kind of the compass, of the inner compass, that gives you an answer of who you are and where you want to go. And this looks like that, yeah. So there are very many reflective parts in it, where people think of themselves and they write down, but there are also very collaborative parts. What is a big topic in design thinking, and what we see is also a big topic in this life design approach, so that going through this process not alone but with other people has a big impact. So at least from what we experience. And it's also inspirational and visual approach. So we have a journal where people write all their reflections and all their insights in, so they have everything in one place. So it's like as a treasure and as an overview, to then also have results for themselves that they can write down, and that they can look up also later after the workshops, and they can work with it, and things of course always evolve, and they can write over. And so there's one place where they visually and handwritten have all their insights. So this is this cover. And then in the design stage, it's about what is your real challenge. So it's there we do a lot of also framing and problem framing, and how do I want to look at the world, and what is the focus that I take. And looking differently at the world, I see different challenges, or I see different priorities, or I can formulate my challenge different, and only small differences in formulating my challenge opens complete different solution rooms. And we play around with that, and we try to surprise them and bring them in awkward situations to enhance their creativity, and to look different on things, and come up with new ideas, and encourage them to have this moonshot idea. So I love this design here with the moon. And in the deliver phase, I already said it before, it's about prototyping, and we're working creatively as much as we can to bring us into this situation. And in the discuss phase, it's about things like, is it really, what are the next steps? This is the stairs. What if I think it's not for me? Yeah, is it really not for me? Other people told me it's not. This doesn't work. Do I really have to believe it doesn't work? Or if I believe it works, does it work? So we're talking about self-doubt, and we are talking about courage, and about taking risk, and and about a lot also about team and building your team and finding people who can help you in the process and who can give you feedback or can support you. And yeah, it's also about having fun, and it's also about using the places and going out and moving to get inspiration and to get in connection with other people and to have the whole transformation process in a positive, have a positive emotion with it. Okay, so far the ideas behind the 4D looping framework. What we also do when we are doing workshops with it, we want to find out how it's. I mean, we have our own experience, and then we get feedback when people talk to us. But we also want to find out if it really has a significant impact on the entrepreneurial and the psychological resources that I was talking in the beginning that help people to cope with the change in a sustainable way, and to and to spot opportunities and to find out new ideas and to go this way, and to implement their ideas. So what did we do? We had one intervention, so that was one of the first. It was a short intervention that we tested there 4 hours, and of course we could not go through all this 4-step process with all the tasks, so it was more an impulse with participants half students and half alumni from a German study support organization. So a lot of entrepreneurial thinking people and ambitious people with a lot of change maker ambition in this group. And we have a before questionnaire where participated 190 people. The mean age was 30 years and 75% women. And we also asked them 6 weeks later the same questions. We only had 38 people answering the second questionnaire, but we have the same age mean, and we have the same percentage of women. So we think it's like a representative subgroup of the first group. And what did we ask? So what scales did we measure? So for us, it's important to have like psychological measures, psychological capital. We measured from positive psychology and also from entrepreneurial competences. And so I have this columns here where I marked what belongs to psychological capital, what belongs to entrepreneurial competences, and it's also overlap there. And we asked the scales were internal and external control, were self-efficacy, were optimism and pessimism, life satisfaction, willingness to take risk, resilience, identity, creativity and innovation. And then we looked at it, how the people answered it before we did the intervention and after, and we did t-tests and significant tests. And the only the measure that had a significant improve was life satisfaction. All the others were not significant. So they were all a little bit, there was a small trend, so it's all to positive change, but it was not significant. And this has, so what can I say about this result? So first of all, having like this big group of people who voluntarily wanted to participate in the live design or the live looping workshop showed that there's great interest for the topic. And when we are looking at the profile of these people, like before or after, we can go one step. We have like this profile of how how is pessimism or external control. So is this like something in this group that is very strong or weak, or so we can have like look at this profile, and we still see that of course there's still improvement in all the measures. So we could still be more satisfied with our life. We could still be more optimistic. We could still be more resilient. So there is still potential. Life satisfaction was the only significant measure. But why? So what I would say, or what I would discuss about, is that of course only 4-hour intervention and not going through the whole framework, to the whole process, this is not sufficient for transformative effects. So this was quite short. So what probably would be needed is to have like several touch points over longer time to really see that there's change happening. It's also we didn't have a control group, so we can also not say if life satisfaction is really dependent on our workshop, or if there was something else happening in the world during this 6 weeks. So for sure we should do in future impact measurements with control group. Then we also have the topic of the sample size. I mean, having 190 answers before is quite well, but then only connecting it with 38 after, then is we also lose like group size, and then also significant tests are much harder with small group sizes. So far about the impact measurement. This was my last slide. The idea is to discuss now with you about my ideas and about what I did, and I'm very curious to know what you think. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Would it be okay that I stop the taping for the discussion, because I guess it's more openly when we not tape it?
For me, yes. Okay.